Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Christa, Practical Astros. I'm here with my friend Emily. Hi, Emily. How are you doing?
Hey, yeah, I'm good.
Emily invited me on her podcast. I guess it was 2 months ago. It was back in January. We met via mutual friend Sonia Geary of Celestia Astrology, and Emily holds a really beautiful space, mostly on YouTube, but you do have an Instagram too and a website, which we'll get into. I have a little bit of a bio to read from Emily. Emily from Emily Lunar Astrology. She trained through Deborah Silverman's School of Applied Astrology and later furthered her studies at the London School of Astrology. She's an astrologer, intuitive tarot card reader, and has a marvelous moon obsession, which I share. I love other folks that are moon obsessed. She learned tarot originally through Gregory Scott, an astrologer who has an interest in numerology and very accomplished in tarot too. Emily holds space for people to thrive through adversity, connect with their nature, and align with their purpose using the wisdom tools of astrology, tarot, and the lunar cycle. So welcome, Emily. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So the these kind of conversations I like to have just to talk about practices and to put some context of people that aren't familiar with you or your channel. Can you tell us about how you got to where you are today? Today is Saturday, March 28th. The moon is currently in Leo. So I brought some Leo props, some heart-shaped glasses, and some gold costume jewelry. But you are moon obsessed currently. But how did you become moon obsessed? How did you get into tarot? How did you get into astrology? Can you provide us some context of your story?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, I lived near an observatory, and my parents took me there a few times, and um, I could try and see Mars, but it was like this tiny red dot which I couldn't really see very well, and I was short, really short. I was like, oh, it's not great. But I had kind of synchronicities and things in my life where I unfortunately I suffered quite a lot with depression when I was young, due to having dyspraxia and feeling like I was stupid. And it's the classic kind of, oh, if you're neurodivergent, it's like you don't totally fit in how everyone else does. And then it was like, well, I didn't have the language or the knowledge of why, but I I know that a lot of people when they're young actually resonate more with their moon sign than their sun sign. And I didn't realize that the Capricorn moon in me was like realizing that things felt like they were really hard, but I had the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I felt like I was responsible for so many things in my life. But when I saw the moon and it was whole and full, I thought, oh, that's so pretty. That is really feeling like I can be just as whole as that moon. I don't have to feel like I'm separate or segmented in some way. But then also I used angel rays of the sun to confirm decisions in my life. It's like, am I on the right track today? Oh, life feels horrible and hard and everything else. And then I see the angel rays in the sky, like, okay, I'm making the right decision with whatever it is that I'm contemplating over relentlessly. Um,
That's beautiful. Last night, around sunset, there was a big storm cloud, and then there was this really sharp, clear like angel ray coming down, and I pointed it out to my son, and I was like, I love when that happens. Like I wasn't thinking about anything particular. I was taking him to a party, but it was like there's something, it's so striking. It just strikes through the traffic and the lights and the noise and the ambulances, and like it's like something so pure that it's just reaffirming. Like there's bigger things, there's bigger beauty, bigger truth, bigger light out there, and that's where we get the
yeah.
rainbow from. So I love that you would use that as an affirmation.
Mm. Oh, I didn't realize this at the time, but my grandma, the name Iris, actually means rainbow messenger,
Oh wow.
which I found out when she passed away, and I was like
Hmm.
giving a tribute to her at her funeral, and it's like, oh wow, there's so much
Wow.
here. She was
Yeah.
typical Cancer. She literally everybody became her family, and she'd always have food in the house to nurture them with, and
Mm-hmm.
she was the person in my life I thought, well, she's just really genuine. There's no pretense. There's no,
Hmm.
you have to be appropriate like my very fixed parents. And it's like, no, with her, you walk in, as soon as you walk in the door, drop everything. She gives you a hug. Can I get you something to eat?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good grandma. There's something that has been coming up lately, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, just the roundness of the moon. But the phrase or the idea of everything in a round shape is beautiful because it's complete. There's something about the completion of a circle, the
Mm,
roundness of a circle. There's the edges are soft and it becomes beautiful and comforting and welcoming because it has this sense of belonging and completion. And I think that that has to do with the moon. I think that we
mm,
see that and we're like, okay, well, the moon is round, the moon is full. I can identify with that. It feels like it will envelop or encircle me. So when you were at the observatory, would you look at the moon? Like, would you look at the craters of the moon or see the rabbit or the old man in the moon? Like, what was your relationship in specific with the observatory that you would go to as a child?
well, it was just more the case of that. Well, I didn't go very often. It was like literally about twice in my life, but I always wanted to go more than that. And it was more that when I was there, I could see the night sky really clear because there was obviously nothing really in its path. Well, with that area near where I grew up, it's just completely surrounded by fields. It was just beautiful. But my one or two times I managed to get to telescope, I couldn't see as much as I wanted to see. But outside, it was, well, actually, you've got this uninterrupted, perfect sky, and it was, well, actually seeing Orion's belt and that sort of thing. You're like, oh, that's perfect. And then it's like, well, actually, as you say, it's like feeling the wholeness that the moon has, and rather than realizing that we can be whole too. And it's just, it was a beautiful thing. And I later on ended up struggling through chronic pain, and that's when I'd found yoga, and it was yoga with Cassandra. She's French Canadian. She's very big on YouTube. But she had a lunar yoga program that she was doing, looking at the sun each month through signs, and each time that it was a new moon, we would do yin yoga, and each time it was a full moon, we'd do a vinyasa flow, and then we'd have various different topics, which I didn't totally realize were totally connected to the zodiac at the time. I was like, oh, okay. And when her program finished, I was really quite disappointed. I was like, I really want to stay in this if only it still was continuing.
Yeah.
Um, but where I'd also been doing sort of her yoga and stuff anyway, and thought, oh, how can I continue tracking the lunar cycle? I found Yasmin Boland's diaries, and I've been using those ever since.
Hmm.
And this like cheap webinar came up, thinking I was Gemini rising at the time. I attended that one. I thought, well, there's so much Gemini in my chart, surely. And then I managed to download a free chart from her, and thought, oh, this seems to make a bit more sense. And I was really inspired. And then come 2020, when we were all locked down, and I was forced to stay at home, I was like, what am I going to do? And then Deborah Silverman popped up in my feed, and
Hmm.
I ended up just diving straight in and taking her course.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because before we started recording, we were talking about the getting your chart rectified and finding your rising sign and
Yeah.
how it made sense of how you translated information through your body. And that's exactly what you did with yoga. It's like you didn't realize you were getting an astrology or lunar lesson, but you
Hmm.
were through the body. Like the body was like preparing you for so that the mind could then seek it out, and like want that
Yeah.
information. Like the body was like the doorway through it. So to me, it even reaffirms the rising sign, like rectification, which is really fascinating because when you study astrology and you have like a set, even if it's just the house system you use, if you change that, or you realize, oh well, I got the rising sign wrong or the moon sign changed, it can really radically disrupt you to think like, well, am I this? Like, do I identify with this? But usually when it's right, it feels like this relief of like, oh yeah, this never made sense before. And now it clicks. Now it feels like it flows and the information is there. So it's always a good story to have that rising sign rectification work because it doesn't always work. Sometimes it's so much of sometimes it's just wrong, but then sometimes it's like, but I've identified myself in this way and I'm having a hard time reconciling that re-identification. But astrology ends in ology, right? It's the study of. So you're constantly studying, and you constantly have to kind of keep your mind nimble enough to change. But I love that you did it anyway, like by translating it through yoga, which is such a beautiful way to translate information. So with the Deborah Silverman School, is that where you first were learning about astrology, like as a practice, as a study? Was it
Yeah,
through her school? Nice.
yeah. Yeah, and it confirmed a lot of the elemental wisdom and like the chakra system and stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I'd already been used to, and sort of actually feeling into what was going on, and then realizing that actually it's a lot deeper than that itself. So you've got the elements, but then also you've got the beauty of the signs and a few transits and things. And when I got to her final level of it, then she confirmed that I had a yod in my chart, and I was like, oh, that is so cool. Um, so, yeah.
So with where did Tarot enter the picture? Was Tarot after astrology, or did it kind of come through similarly?
Um, so I'd made okay, so I've made a few okay, right, my tarot friend, Luke, who's like had a yoga and tarot and human design wellness center not far from me. Um, he started saying about this WhatsApp sharing group. He said, "Oh, I'm sharing Deepak Chopra's meditations. Do you want to be in my group, my WhatsApp group?" I'm like, yeah, sure, add me. And then there was over a few days. So day 5 was create your own group, and I was like, but I don't know anyone who particularly likes astrology and tarot and whatever else I do, let alone meditation. And so I thought, do you know what? Let's just reach out to Yasmin Boland's community, and too many people joined from different time zones,
Yeah.
and it was quite hard to keep up and like resend different things. And I said, well, is there any way that you can add this on like YouTube or a Facebook group or something? And then that's when my YouTube channel was born,
Wow.
by
Mm-hmm.
sharing parts of the meditation challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, once I'd done Deborah's school, then I started adding my own things and got rid of all Deepak Chopra's meditations I'd sort
Mm-hmm.
of stolen in a way. As
Borrowed
well,
for a time. Yeah.
borrowed for a time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I realized that actually this is really quite cool to be able to share things that I know. And
Mm-hmm.
it was gaining some kind of traction at the time. And things have kind of developed a bit further from there. Um,
As they
as,
do.
as they do. And
Yeah.
then I can't remember exactly at what point. I think it was around 2022 that I discovered Gregory Scott and was looking at videos that he was sharing of, the monthly
Mm-hmm.
astrologies. Um, and he was interweaving numerology as well as so it was tarot, the astrology, and the numerology all together. This is amazing. That's what I want. I wanted
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
this and continue my lunar obsession.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Speaking of lunar obsession, so what I'm going to share, I always like to have some cards up of ones that resonate with the person I'm talking to. And so this, can you see my screen?
yeah.
Okay. So these are two of the cards. This is just from the Rider-Waite-Smith, but we have the High Priestess card and the Star card. What is it about? Well, we'll talk about the High Priestess, I'm sure, but what is it about the Star card that made you choose it for today?
Well, I don't know why, but I've always been drawn to the star card. And it's kind of when I was then talking about astrology actually with my friends who I'd met through Deborah Silverman School actually. Um, I was saying, oh, well, of course, in tarot we've got Aquarius as the star, and then I started talking about it and realizing, oh, I love her like the vulnerability of the person in the image, and I said, well, what are the jogs full of? Because it's not a water sign; it's an air sign,
Yeah, yeah,
Aquarius. And I realized, well, actually, no, it feels like they're pouring in compassion. And then she was talking about how um, the beauty of Aquarius is maybe working out how much to put in the jugs and how much you can pour into somebody, but you'll always get a little trickle on yourself. And you're pouring into the earth and you're pouring into your surroundings. I think, but Aquarius actually does hold that compassion. And Aquarius isn't just some genius that's out there somewhere. Um, where does their knowledge come from?
Yeah.
There's so much in the card that it just feels so amazing to be that free. And I think of Aquarius as the freedom shakers that, they shake up the world and try and there might be a bit of a rebellious streak, but it's kind of you're awakening the world to things they're not seeing, that actually is going to hold space in a way it's I can't describe it very well, but it's sharing what people aren't seeing and the genius and everything compared with it. And you've got Sirius in the card, brightest star. And it's like, well, that's come up again because my husband was trying to research what to call some fitness thing he was doing, and he ended up calling it Sirius. He said, "Isn't that the brightest star?" I'm like, well, I told you about that. I was looking at the star card years ago. So it's just little things that come up, and I think, oh, I love this card.
Yeah, I mean it feels auspicious just of what you shared earlier when you went to the observatory and you were too short to see Mars. Like the Mars card
Mm,
in Tarot is the tower, and so you couldn't see
yeah,
that, but you could see beyond it to the star. Like that's what you were
yeah.
attracted to. Like you didn't need the tower to see the star. Like that's the one that you were,
No,
it's like, but then the way that you described it is like there's things that maybe go unseen and
yeah.
yet they still exist. They still have a form. They still have that
Mm,
compassionate place in our world. I love the star. It's a nuanced card. It's not all of them are, but the more you study, even just the major arcana, the more and more of the cards I feel like they show up in certain times of your life when you need it more. You need that reflection. Like all the cards can be like a mirror to you, but there are some cards that just I say haunt, haunt not necessarily in a bad way, but just are a companion to you throughout your life. And it sounds like the star is maybe one of them, just
yeah,
for you.
the freedom of expression. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it is. And I know within sort of the astrology side, I've got Chiron and Gemini, and I've not always felt free to express myself. So
Mm-hmm.
that star is that kind of
Permission.
that permission. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 So let's talk about the High Priestess. So in Tarot, the correspondence is with the moon. The moon card
yeah,
corresponds to Pisces, and I will use them interchangeably. Like if the moon card comes up, sometimes I do pull in lunar energy, but the High Priestess, for the most part, represents that mythical moon, right?
yeah.
The mythical liminal space and the way that information is translated from the primordial water behind her to us on facing her. And she has the crescent moon in her feet. She has robes that kind of wrinkle like the waves that the moon controls. So
Mm.
talk to me just about this card, and your relationship with it.
Yeah. So, well, as you know, I love the moon, but in some respects, it's I'd found out that my birth card was the High Priestess. And I thought, well, that again feels like another permission slip to keep following the lunar cycle. But also noticing that she's got that crown on her head, which I always talk about the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And that it, it's it's just such an amazing thing to have that validation there, to say that actually it's okay to go within. And you don't need to always be active doing things. It's okay just to be.
Yeah.
Um, and
Another permission. Permission
yeah,
to, yeah.
I like the polarities as well. There's the black and the white and the within and what's behind, like the fruits of being reflective in a way with those pomegranates and everything. And she's got that Torah, that key to do so. It's like, well, she's that power in that way, and we're allowing the divine feminine within us. And to me, that suggests then you can't talk about a divine feminine without there also being a divine masculine. I think of all the great writers, some that I love to talk about are Esther Perel and Brené Brown, and they're always talking about the both and. And this to me represents some of that both and.
Yeah, the pomegranates behind her, it I always think of like the knowledge of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, like having that awareness, having the wisdom, because
Yeah.
in the story of the Garden of Eden, it's an apple or it's a pomegranate. It's like something. There's some sort of fruit of wisdom, and to me, that's
Mm.
like the tangible fruit of wisdom that the lunar card, the lunar lessons bring. When your body remembers something, it remembers it forever. Like you have that wisdom, that embodied knowledge that maybe you don't have language for, and like you said, when you're children, you might identify more as your moon sign because the body is there
Yes.
to like translate all of the environment. Like you learn what gravity is by like dropping your toy over and over and over. You're like you don't know that it wouldn't float up. You're just experimenting. You're playing with your hands. You're experimenting with textures and food and what's hot and what's cold, and that's all of that is a lunar knowledge, a lunar wisdom, and that's what the fruit behind her reminds me of. Um, so within like the wisdom that you had been gaining, through yoga and then through the astrology school and then through tarot groups and friends, how do you combine them all within your current practice? Because again, like it will evolve and change as you evolve and change. But what does it look like now with how you kind of braid all of your modalities together?
Yeah, so I like to use the decans like you do, but in different ways, I'm sure. So what I like to do is I'll think of the sort of transits that come through that are relevant, either with a client or when I'm looking at the new moons and full moons for my blogs that I write on Substack. Um, so then I'll look at those, but then I'll look at what decan that is in, and then look at the rule of the decan and see whether that also relates anywhere else within the chart as far as the planet's concerned. There's lots of different like nuance that comes through, and I often find that the tarot and the astrology work so well together. Um, but I say when if I was seeing a client, um, if I was doing an Astro Tarot talk, then well, conversation with the clients, I might look at all of their new moons for them with a tarot card, but then also give them a card for the time that we're in and see what resonates and have a talk around it all and see what comes up. But also, I would then look at their chart and I might look at their sun, moon, and rising and tell them what the major arcana cards are to do with those, and just see where things go. But as I say, if it's just an ordinary astrology reading, I would only use it in the interpretation side. I might ask them, "Would you like me to pull one card?" Um, but that's more against what they're looking at for the reading, and if there's something that comes up as a focus, if we don't initially explain things so well within the astrology, I might say, well, would you like a card for clarity and see what comes up? But majority of the time, I try and keep astrology as astrology and tarot as my little looking at the new moons with cards. But yeah, it's good fun to combine them, and I feel that they always talk to each other very well.
Definitely, yeah. What do you write about on Substack? Can you share a little bit about like kind of what's your favorite thing to write about? Because we all start writing about one thing, but then you start to kind of find your threads that you really like to do. So what's your favorite what compels you to go to Substack and write? I love that platform as just a way of sharing ideas. And it's such a welcoming community for all writers. So I'm just curious, like what you enjoy the most to write about in that place.
Well, to be honest, I would love to be writing more and just whatever comes into my head, but
Same.
I don't find much time to do so, so I end up just sticking to the new and full moons. But within those, they are very long.
You
I
put a
will,
lot of things in there. Yeah. That's what kind of
yeah,
what I want. I want you to share like the
yeah,
wealth and the depth that you put into those posts because
yeah.
it's quite a feat.
So what I start off with is okay, so if we're looking at a new moon, we are associating new moons with the crone, a wise lady or wise person anyway, who holds that knowledge, that wisdom that actually in order for things to start anew, we have to release something, and actually from that point, it's like a seed planted in the soil, or it's that that new moon energy of, right, we're in darkness. What do we want to plant of intention? So it's giving allowing that space for somebody to do so. But then I will then look at the sign that is on the new moon. Um, and then I will go as far as, right, well, I'll just give them what the tarot card might be for just generic major arcana tarot card bit. But then I'll also look at um, further throughout that, what element is associated with the particular sign. And then I'll look at the chakra system that seems to be applied to that. Then I'll start writing the blog. And whatever comes up from the blog parts, I will then likely have some decan things that come throughout the transits interpretation. I often give suggested yoga asanas to work with if they want to, but I always put in the moon phase families. Um, so it's there's a lot,
There's a lot of depth there. Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think some of it's for me, and some of it's in case somebody decides, do you know what? Let's see what's in this marvelous mind.
Mm.
Um,
Honestly, like if you create something for yourself, like I think that it's worth to share it out, even if you don't think like, does anybody else want this? If you make something for yourself, share it because if you
mm,
like it, at least one other person will like it. And to me, that's
yeah.
what like coming from that authentic creative place is like what we're all here to do. So
Yeah.
there can be this like why would anybody else need this? But if I need it, that's the permission that, so I think it's really beautiful. It's a lot of work that you put into it. But if you're making it for yourself and sharing it, then you're doing us a favor by sharing your, crazy mind with us.
Yeah, again, it's got the embodiment piece in there. It's got to have some kind of elemental wisdom, which then tracks into the chakras and how do you work with it.
Yeah.
Um,
So then you do, similar things, but slightly different over on YouTube. Can you talk about your YouTube channel and
yeah,
what you like to enjoy, what you enjoy doing over there?
yeah. So on YouTube, I love to talk to people, and that is a lot of the Gemini in me. But then I'm celebrating other people and collaborating in a way that feels the most aligned. It's like, well, you tell me about you, and then we'll have a conversation that might involve some astrology, some tarot, and whatever else comes up. I do have a bit of a set format just because it then makes it easier. I always ask people about manifesting and staying consistent with what they do and any projects and things they want to share. I also like to get people to celebrate themselves because I don't feel we do that enough. So I ask people about proud moments. And naturally, I'm sure within the conversation, sort of challenges come up. I say, well, how do the things that you share actually help other people? And what have you learned? It's just evolved into a beautiful conversation. And then I'll like share little clips of that as reels
Mm-hmm.
and then make sure that I credit those people that I'm working with because I think that life in a way is there to be shared. And as Louise Hay says, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Mm-hmm. So I'm putting you on the spot here. Do you want to share some celebrations of some personal wins or things that you're happy to share with us right now? Or if you want to think about it, we can talk about something else. But yeah, like what are you here to celebrate today?
I'm here to celebrate beingness
Hmm,
rather than doing.
love it.
Um, I was actually inspired by something I saw earlier. There was an astrologer, I've forgotten what her last name is, but she's Kate someone or other. And I think I reposted her reel that she was sharing. But it was a really beautiful thing because she'd had a friend that was going through cancer and her friend was saying, well, what's my worth? What's my purpose? And she was dispelling the myth that purpose has to actually be the job you do. And I was thinking, well, when I talk about purpose, I'm also not talking just about what somebody's job is. I'm talking about what makes someone's soul feel alive, what brings their soul's evolution, what
Yeah.
will make them feel at their best. And whether it is literally, I spent some time doing something for me today, or I helped this person cross the road, or I helped this person by saying, "Oh, I like your earrings," because it made them realize that they were a human being as well. There's just something about embracing the humanity. Um,
Yeah, it's like the moon is in Leo, and I had a conversation a few days ago with a friend who has a lot of Leo in their chart. And they said, Leo is not about fame, it's about recognition. And even just like recognizing like I love these earrings too. That's all. Like I don't need to be splashed, on a billboard for my earrings, but recognizing it like that's because it's like the sharing it, feeling like you belong, feeling it you're connected, all of that is recognition is a language in that.
yeah,
And I think that's a beautiful observation to just be recognized. And that is a part of our worth, is like recognizing where we are, not what we do in a capitalist system, but what we do in a community system.
yeah, yeah. Also, I was talking, I say, to some of my astrology friends yesterday, and I will shout her out, Jasmina Brozovic. She has said that my friend Candice and I need to be talking about some transits more, and that we need to be on my YouTube channel, making us both feel that little bit out of our comfort zone, talking about things that we know, because actually we've got a lot more knowledge than we realize we have.
Yeah.
And it was more, be more Aries, because I have my North Node in Aries, and she is an Aries, but she feels
Mm-hmm.
like she apologizes for it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to share your website so that we can kind of move over there. Let me see if I can do this here. And because you do have offerings that you have for the public. So this is Emily's YouTube. This is Emily's website. So it's emilylunarastrology.com. Very easy to remember. And she has her blog and her testimonials and her abouts and everything. And from there, you can go to Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I pulled the YouTube up too because she's got a lot of really great videos and a lot of shorts, of all of what you do. But can you talk a little bit just about your practice and what kind of readings you tend to give and what kind of readings you like to give and just speak a little bit about your business end of it.
Yeah, so when it comes to readings, I would love to have more these days than I have. They're quite sporadic, but
Hmm.
ones that I really loved doing. I had an Australian friend who I was talking on my channel to at one point, and I was on hers, and she said, "Well, will you hold some space for me? I've got this high priestess circle." I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I know about that kind of space. And she said, well, what they really want to know is talking about some Pluto things. And I said,
Ah.
oh, okay.
Hmm.
So we were talking about Pluto with a little bit of purpose as well, because it was actually how do we break down some of the things that feel like they're no longer serving us, but also then how do we grow from that? And so I was able to give that empowerment piece. Um,
I love
and
it. Yeah.
it was lovely to look at some of these things within each of their charts and give them all little takeaways.
Hmm.
I mean, I can't remember how long we were on there, but I must have given more than about 10 minutes per person. I was literally giving probably about 20 minutes, half an hour per person.
Yeah.
But it was good fun and yeah, it was a really lovely thing to do.
Awesome. One thing that you mentioned before we started recording was you had kind of some funny tarot moments yesterday with your tarot and friend group. Can you share a little bit about that story?
Yeah, so I was on this astrology Zoom with my friends, and I went to grab something and knocked over my tarot deck. And
Fairy
these two,
tower, very towery.
yes, I know, these two cards came out. I don't know whether you can see them very well. Um,
So
they
what?
are,
So it's the Six of Swords and which
and
ones are
then
they?
the Six of Swords and the Nine of Pentacles.
Nice.
And so I said, well, it feels like we need some kind of way of looking at our mastery, our material things that we are working towards, but actually maybe we need to heal some things that are mentally in our paths. what are we doing? Are we blocking ourselves? And actually, maybe we need to realize we have a bit more knowledge than we think we do. And then that was then confirmed later on within the call with our friend Jasmina, basically saying that is exactly what I was thinking when we were
Yeah.
talking earlier. And
Yeah, I
then
love when the cards are like they're active characters in life, like physical characters, that they'll fly out, they'll pop out, they'll just arrive in ways that you didn't weren't expecting them to. They
no.
definitely speak to us in that kind of a way.
And then earlier on today, I can't remember why. I think oh yes, I moved a deck and I left a card behind. The card that got left behind was the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, that's beautiful. The
Yes, this is
wheels,
going to
like,
be
I've got plenty to do this year. This is my year. I've got to move around. I've got to make some space. Yeah.
And I kind of remembered that I was when I was having a talk with my friend Robin on my channel, I forgot to actually mention the name of the talk. So the name of the talk that I'd called it was Turning the Wheel.
There
I'm
you
thinking, well,
go.
it's like a literal thing.
Yeah, yeah. Um, do you pull tarot like on a daily basis? Like, do you usually pull one or two cards for your day? What does your personal practice look like?
I would like to, but it's just whenever I randomly think, oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, I quite like a card.
Yeah.
And then I might even just go as far as going onto tarot.com
Mm-hmm.
and seeing what random card comes up
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then playing with it for the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you mind pulling a card now just for
Sure.
the moment? And tell us what deck you're pulling from.
Um, just because it's already there. So steampunk tarot. Which do we need to know?
What's the vibe for today? Today is Saturday, March 28th.
Hmm.
We're a week into the zodiacal new year, so soon we're going to be moving into
Oh,
the
there we
sun
go.
going into a new decan. We've just left the Saturn Cazimi and
The moon just popped out.
hmm, yeah, Pisces is like, I'm free of Saturn, but I do have Mars.
Kind
I
of
like
feels
the
like
moon card when you look at the high priestess card and you've got those two pillars. To me, the moon
mm,
card is like what it looks like from the other side.
yes.
When you're in that lunar realm, it's like the two pillars look very different. It's very dreamy.
Yeah. But then when I think of the moon, I think then, well, actually, it's what are we not seeing? But often we think of it, it comes up when we feel some fears and some anxiety. And often I think to myself, well, sometimes, Emily, you need to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just literally popped out when I was thinking, well, do I have a bit of imposter syndrome here?
Hmm.
You've been doing tarot longer than I have. And then it's like, boom, there you go.
But speaking to that, so I've been thinking about this about the wheel specifically. And like the wheel is always turning. And some people
Mm,
jump on the wheel and they stay on longer and they jump off. To me, it's like it's not a linear pathway. It's just like being on the wheel or being off the wheel. And as long as you're on the wheel, you're on the wheel, you know?
yeah.
The moon card has a bit of psychosis to me too. And I've been thinking about that more while Mars has been through Pisces, of feeling a little bit crazy or a little bit uncertain or like, have I had that thought before? I mean, it's just like the Mars going through the moon, going through Pisces has been a little like uncertain, but like kind of these irrational fears that kind of come up and really having to work with them. So the moon card has been coming up more for me, and I think it is because of that Mars relation. Mars goes into Aries, I think on the 9th of April. So we have a little bit longer with the moon kind of hosting this warrior planet of Mars. And yeah, like you said, like sometimes you just have to feel the fear and you are brave because you are fearful. You're not brave because you're not
Yeah.
scared, right? Like
Yeah.
that really builds that bravery muscle. So, um, yeah. Okay. So, to wrap up, do you want to share anything that you have coming up or how people can get in touch with you or what final thoughts you would like to share with the audience before we finish?
Well, I know that with anything in life, we need to trust the process. And that feels like a message that always comes through everything that I do. Um, it's lovely that I get to speak to so many amazing people around the world, yourself included. And thank you so much for hosting me today.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, so if people do want to find me, then yes, I am on Instagram and YouTube and also on email. So email is emily@emilylunarastrology.com. And if anybody wants to book a reading with me, they can do so through there or through a message. Um, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do have talks with people on my YouTube, mostly once a month if I can try and do
Hmm.
that. That's what I'm trying to stick to. Um, so the next thing I'm probably doing is probably not going to be so long away, actually.
Yeah,
I think that will be my talk with my friend Candice. We
awesome.
are going to put ourselves out there and talk a bit more astrology together and have some fun.
Nice. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast recently and they were talking about how AI will not replace artists because there's this concept of if you want an answer for something, you can just go to Google or go to chat and just like get the answer. But actually learning that the wisdom of the answer is you going through the process of failure and discovery. And
Yeah.
the similar with any sort of creative work, that if you can learn how to paint or you can just have like artificial intelligence paint for you. But when you explore different pigments and textures and temperatures and brushes, like you learn so much. You go down rabbit holes you did not expect to go down, and you learn about that instead. Like the process was supposed to take you there. Like
Yes.
just similar to you, like you did yoga and it wasn't like this Deepak Chopra meditation mastery. It led you totally to this other place. And you got there because of the process. And AI cannot replicate that. AI just mirrors back our own experience and we can get to the answer, but the answer isn't always the answer that we think we want to know. It's usually redirected from the meandering, and that's I think why it's important to share your process even if you're brand new in the stage, like just sharing your learning. You learn so much more when you teach it to somebody else, even if you have just like a couple of months of experience. Sharing your experience is teaching other people, and that process is just such a beautiful human experience that when you're coming at it authentically and you're coming at it of like, I don't know everything, then you just have a more, you just enjoy it more too. You have that authentic, grounded, like, let's figure this out sort of playful experimentation of these really cool subjects. And doesn't mean that the process isn't frustrating sometimes, or you don't have time to study it and when you want to. I mean, all these things are there. People have empathy for it because they also experience that. So I think trusting the process is a really great piece of advice, because the process is like the whole point. It's like that's the ride. The wheel will keep spinning. When it's like whatever process you go through is kind of yours, only yours to have. And to share that, I think, is just a really lovely thing that you do. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Oh, thank you, Christa.
Well, you can go to emilylunarastrology.com. I'll put all of your links in the show notes so it's nice and clickable. But thanks for joining me today, and thanks everybody for listening.